And okay, it's up to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Christy. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Kerrville. We're so glad to have you here. We are every week, and we have more and more faces coming, and it's so exciting. And I just want to tell you that I'm happy to see each of you. I want to ask you to remember to mute your screen so that outside noise from wherever you are doesn't come in, and mute your phone so that we don't have the phone calls. But before you mute your phone, please check in on Facebook and let everybody know that you're attending a Rotary Club meeting. So with that, I'd like to ask Christy to pray on demand for us.
Okay. Hey, Dad. Thank you so much for taking care of us and for providing some moisture here in the hill country, for watching us as we work to serve others above ourselves. We love you. We need you here every day, just walking beside us and helping us to do all things that you wish for us. We pray for our military and our first responders and those who put their lives on the line for us. We thank you every day for all the gifts that you provide. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, so if you will join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic
for which it stands, one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with
with
liberty and justice
for all.
Okay. Hey guys, we are waiting for Congressman Roy, and we have lots of stuff to talk about, but they say he's going to be here soon. But I did want to tell you that I am so excited about the response to my request for my mother's blood drive, or in honor of my mother. We have only 6 slots of 30 left, and I want to tell you thank you. If you have not signed up, you have the link, please do so. And I just want to take this opportunity to tell you thank you. It looks like we have Congressman Roy with us. So if he's ready, Clint, would you like to introduce him? You're muted, Clint. Clint, you're on mute, honey.
You got to push the unmute button.
Let's make it easy. Just say Congressman Roy. Start talking.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, he's unmuted.
Go ahead.
Okay, Congressman, we're just going to ask you to start telling us what you were doing, what your vote was on, and give us an update from what's happening from the House.
Well, delighted to. Appreciate y'all having me on. Sorry, it's a couple minutes late. We're bouncing around today with different vote series. We got another vote in about 45 minutes. This one, I'm not even sure yet because the speaker doesn't always tell us until the very last minute what we're voting on. I think this one's going to be on a rule involving an energy bill, which I will be opposing because it will be putting restrictions in place on fracking and advancing some of the Green New Deal stuff and pushing some renewable fuel standard requirements that are bad for Texas and so forth. So I'll be opposing that. But look, in broad terms, obviously right now, and I'm happy to talk about whatever y'all want to. I'm happy to go to question and answer. But right now, we're obviously focused on year-end, fiscal year-end bills that we need to try to get through here in September. Number one, obviously, the continuing resolution passed yesterday to fund government, I think, through December, mid-December, in order to sort of kick that can past the election. I joined 57 other members of the House to oppose that because it continues to escalate spending without any restrictions in place. We didn't have passed any appropriations bills. We got the bill 20 minutes literally before we voted on it. And I did not feel that was representing y'all the way you would want to be represented, fiscally responsible. I know we've got a lot to do. And by the way, we haven't passed anything yet for small businesses who are still hurting because of the virus being shut down. Many of you all know that in June, I was pleased to pass a bipartisan bill, freshman Republican, managed to get through a bill with a freshman Democrat, the PPP Flexibility Act, which gave a lot more room for small businesses to be able to survive through this and use the dollars that they were getting through the PPP program. And so I was happy to do that. And it's helped a lot of restaurants and a lot of people survive from the spring until now. But now they're kind of hitting a wall. So I'm pushing hard here with the Small Business Administration and Secretary Mnuchin to try to clean up balance sheets and get a lot of those forgiveness loans processed for all of these small businesses. The banks that went out early lending all those dollars, their balance sheets are now all cluttered up. And we need to try to clean those off and get that done, and then do another round of financing for the small businesses that are still hurting. I've also been a voice pushing a little bit on the governor's office, encouraging that they need to fix, I think, the 51% rule that's hammering a lot of our wineries and distilleries and breweries and bars and live music venues and the folks that are really hurting throughout the Hill Country. That's particularly true in and around Fredericksburg, Kerrville as well. And so I've been trying to raise that issue up with the state leadership as well. Look, we've all obviously now the politics are turning towards all of this stuff involving the Supreme Court. I'm happy to talk about that, although not directly germane as a House member. But I suspect that we will celebrate Justice Ginsburg's life this week. The president will probably nominate either Judge Barrett or maybe there's Lagoa and Rushing. There's a couple of options, but I think we'll get a nominee this weekend. That's my guess, is that the president will nominate, and the president should nominate. That's his job. There's a vacancy and he should nominate. Every time in the history of our country there's been a vacancy in the fourth year of a presidency, the president has nominated all 29 times. And so this president will do the same. And then it's up to the Senate to see if they've got the votes. That's the politics. It's just straight up. It's, do you have 50 plus votes to confirm the nominee? And I know that Mitch McConnell is likely to go ahead and proceed and have hearings and proceed with trying to confirm whoever the president nominates. So we'll see how that unfolds timing-wise in October. But the most important thing right now is for us to try to continue to lead through and get out of this virus, get our economy going back strong. We're working hard with the administration on that, and trying again to get one more round of PPP, clean up those balance sheets, and help folks kind of get through this. Importantly, to get through, hopefully through the end of this year, so we can get things open and get everybody back to work. But I'd be happy. I'd rather, I don't know what format y'all want, but I'm happy to throw it open to questions and answers, because that's always better. So I know what you all want to hear about.
Do we have any questions for Congressman Roy?
Yeah, I've got one. This is Jeff. All right, Congressman Roy, two questions. Number one is let's talk about the PPP thing for a second. There's been a lot of throwing around about $150,000 or less. We're just going to wipe them off, be done with it. And I guess that did not pass last week, which is fine. But, we've got all our stuff ready to turn in, and the banks are telling us it's going to be 6 months before we even know if it's being forgiven or not. Is there anything that can be done about that? Speed that up? One.
So yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. You said you had two questions. Was there a second?
Yeah, let's get to this one first. The other one's going to be a little more intensive for you.
Oh, no.
Well, I can handle intensive, but
okay.
Look, I've sent a letter to the secretary myself, pushing for a fix to the expedited processing of forgiveness loans, as well as I co-sponsored legislation to do just that. You're right, that has not moved through yet. I'm leaning on Chief of Staff Meadows and on Secretary Mnuchin that they need to clean those up, particularly the 150 and less, 125 and less, which are the vast majority of loans in terms of size. And so I believe they need to do that. They also need to fix the tax issue. They've got to, I think the SBA and the Treasury Secretary are wrong that they're now currently saying that people who took these forgiveness plans are unable to then expense the things that they spend it on. And so that's going to be a double hammer on these businesses, which the secretary claims is gap accounting. And I said, well, okay, technically that's right, but this was a policy choice. The government stepped in and said, look, we're going to give you forgiveness, but we want you to hire people back, follow these rules, go do this to stay alive. And a lot of businesses did that. And now they're being told, oh, sorry, you're now going to not get the deduction on that in terms of your taxes. That's a double whammy. So I'm pushing back on the secretary on that, as well as a couple of other provisions I can get into. It is what it is. I mean, right now we're trying to push that. We're trying to get legislation to move on any kind of PPP renewal. I would argue if we do another PPP, we have to fix the forgiveness or there won't be any dollars flowing. Banks aren't going to be able to litter up their balance sheets if we don't get that cleaned up. So that's what I'm working on literally as we speak. These are the arguments I've been having all day.
Well, I as a business owner, and I know there's several other on the call, thank you for doing that because we're ready to proceed and move forward and we're getting stymied. So thanks for that. Second question is, we know you've spoken to us in person before, just like Lamar Smith did, and we appreciate what you do. Is Washington tired of all this crap? I mean, seriously, we're all educated people and we're looking at this game of politics, and when is it ever going to stop?
Well, you're preaching to the choir on that one. I gave a speech that I would ask you all to look at. I don't normally do that, but in this case, in late July, I gave a speech for an hour on the floor of the House to an empty chamber, because that's often what happens, expressing exactly your concern about the games being played in Washington and why we don't just have regular order. We never, there hasn't been an amendment voted on the floor of the House of Representatives since May of 2016 that was in open order, meaning somebody puts a bill down and then Congressman Roy comes up and offers an amendment. Everything's prepackaged by rule by the majority in a closed room, and they do it in the Rules Committee by majority, and they just do it. They put it on that floor and they say, you're going to vote. So yesterday is a good example. I want to get our government moving forward. I want to find a fiscally responsible way to fund government, our military, our veterans, everything else. But I was given one bill, no choice to amend it, no debate, literally 20 minutes. Here you go, $1.6 trillion. So we're busting the caps of the caps we already busted. So until we get regular order back, we're never going to fix Washington. And so that's a bipartisan problem, by the way. Now, I'm a partisan, and I can point the finger at Nancy Pelosi, and I think she's been running this place into the ground. But we didn't do it in 2017 or 18 either. I say we, I wasn't here. But the Republicans didn't do it in 2017 and 18. And so we need to fix this place to make it work. I'm trying and working with some of my freshman Democrat colleagues to do those things. But at the end of the day, I'm going to put my partisan hat on. Speaker Pelosi has been truly running this place completely in lockdown mode from a majority perspective. And we never get a chance to amend, debate, vote. And frankly, we waste time. And she changed the rules, by the way, to allow people to vote from wherever with proxy voting. Now, Republicans aren't doing that, but we had a situation where a Democrat was voting from a boat, literally sitting on a boat in Florida. I mean, look, I don't think that's how we should do business. The American people are suffering because of the virus, because of shutdowns. We ought to be doing our job. Between March 14th and September 14th, before we came back a week ago, Congress had met literally 19 days out of the 180 plus days met and voted. That's unconscionable. It's absolutely an embarrassment, and we should be doing our job.
Thank you for your transparency. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Congressman Roy, I was watching a news station, and they were talking about the fact that President Trump wasn't getting involved in the negotiations that Secretary Mnuchin and the others were, but they felt like, why wouldn't the president get involved? Do you think that their Pelosi and his dislike for each other would be helpful or worse if he got involved?
I think at the end of the day, what's happening is the negotiations that are underway between Congressman Meadows, or I should say Chief of Staff Meadows, and Mnuchin, and then Schumer and Pelosi and McConnell, they're all happening with full recognition of what the president wants to accomplish. I mean, those are his, appointees. I mean, the people that he said, go do this, that he's not in the room. I think they've certainly got his voice. I think right now what's happening is this is just straight up raw politics. It's interesting, by the way. Yesterday, there was a story about some of my Democratic colleagues, including, I think, one that I introduced that bill with in June, as well as Abigail Spanberger, who's a Democrat from Virginia, whom I know very well. And they were saying, look, guys, we need to move a PPP bill. And they were criticizing the speaker openly that we need to get this done. I hope we get a little bit more pressure building to do that, to move forward, to do our job. But it's hard to tell. Right now, the speaker wants a really big number, a really expensive number. We believe we ought to separate these things. They did the funding of the government. Okay, that's a good step. But even though I disagree with how much it was, but now let's focus on PPP. Let's focus on whatever you want to do when you're going to offer something for state and local governments, and let's have those debates, but not do a $3 trillion monstrosity. So we'll see what happens with the debates, but I know they're still ongoing, and again, we ought to be debating this on the floor of the House. We shouldn't be waiting for a handful of people to go in a room and tell us what we're voting on.
True. Now, is that 3 trillion or the 1.6 trillion or the numbers that she's putting up? Does that include areas in which that are not appropriate for the PPP extension? I mean, is she trying to fund cities, or is that what the problem is?
So if you go back to June, the bill that the speaker put on the floor was the HEROES Act, and in that bill, Republicans and Democrats always name them these, nice sounding bills. So you can't possibly oppose the bill, or you oppose HEROES, right? But it was the HEROES Act, and it was 3.4 trillion, I think. Put a number in front of a trillion, and you got to go figure it out. But I think it's 3.4 trillion, and in it was a lot of stuff, including some stuff for PPP, but then funding for state and local. It had other, plus ups and grant programs, and it was a very large bill. And so we knew it wasn't going to go anywhere in June. So that's why Dean Phillips, my Democrat friend from Minnesota, and I worked together to get that PPP Flexibility Act passed. It was 7 pages, simple, and we put a lot of pressure on it with the Chamber of Commerce and National, Federation of Independent Business and the Hispanic Chamber and the National Restaurant Association, and we got it through. Now we're trying to do something similar. She's got a lot packaged in the efforts they're trying to move forward. There's some compromise bills that look better, but they're still packaged with a lot of stuff. And my view is, when you're legislating, all that means is you're going to end up with a lot of us on the outside looking in saying, I can't support that because you've packed it with so many things that we shouldn't include. Let's just debate and vote on a PPP extension or a Restart Act or anything else that will provide liquidity and capital for businesses that would hopefully fix the tax issue and clean up balance sheets. And let's do that. Let's just work together to do that. Then let's have a debate on state and local. Do I want Texans subsidizing California or Chicago or New York? No. Is there some room for something to help some localities who've taken it on the chin? Perhaps. We need to have that debate. But what I'm not interested in doing is writing blank checks for our kids and grandkids to have to pay off to fund state and local governments who just continue to make very bad decisions. And don't get me started on local law enforcement decisions. In the city of Austin, cutting the police budget by 1/3, and the inability of a lot of states and localities to do what we need to do, which is stand by our police. I'm unequivocal on this. There is zero room for negotiation on this. I stand with our cops, period.
Thank you for doing that. Do we have any other questions for Congressman Roy? I know we have him for a brief little bit
Yes,
left.
Tammy, I have a question.
Yes.
Congressman Roy, after President Trump makes his recommendation for the new Supreme Court justice, after that's done, then will she be subject to the same kind of inquisition that Kavanaugh had to go through?
Well, Bob, I appreciate that question. Almost certainly. I'm going to give a floor speech in about 3 hours on the House floor, in which I do 2 things. I'm going to focus on law enforcement again, because I'm not going to let go of that bone. I'm going to keep standing up and saying we need to support them. And then number 2, I'm going to talk a little bit about the judicial process. Now, the House doesn't have a hand in that, but it's important for everybody to remember, and I'll preview what I'm going to say tonight. We know what happened to Judge Bork in the 80s. We know what happened to Clarence Thomas, infamously what he referred to as a high-tech lynching. I was in the Senate with John Cornyn working on the Miguel Estrada, Priscilla Owen, Janice Rogers Brown hearings in 2003, where Democrats were blocking them badly and holding them up. And Miguel Estrada, his nomination was killed, even though there was a majority vote of support for him. Why? And we know why. Memos circulated around by Dick Durbin show clearly he was stopped for one reason only. He's Hispanic. And it's clear. We know that. And I'm going to remind people of that. Last year, the attack on Kavanaugh, we saw that. We saw that 2 years ago. We saw that unfold. I can assure you that if Amy Coney Barrett is the nominee, her Catholic faith, her 7 children, 2 adopted children, it will be under attack. People of faith are going to be under attack under this. And I, for one, want to see that called out. And I think somebody will be nominated this weekend. I don't know if it'll be Amy or someone else, but someone will be nominated. There'll be a week or so, probably a background. And I think October 12th, I think, is the current schedule for hearings. I think there'll be a week of hearings, probably. getting us through to the 19th, the week of the 19th. And then I think the majority leader most likely will move to floor action in consideration of the nominee, absent some curveballs we don't see. But I assure you that my Democratic colleagues in the Senate and the House are going to be attacking whoever the nominee is relentlessly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
More questions for Congressman Roy? Does anyone have them?
Congressman Roy, this is Clint Morris now that my computer is working again, but I
Hey, Clint.
apologize for the minimal introduction you got today. But
That's all I deserve, Clint. I don't need any grand introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, tell us, I understand that controlling riots is a, state, local issue, but is there anything the federal government can do when the states are not doing anything to deal with the problem?
Yeah, Clint, that's a great question. And it's something that I've been focused on heavily since June as this stuff was unfolding. The statues were being toppled. So one thing we did was we sent a letter, and we communicated with and talked to Attorney General Barr and his team about the importance of enforcing existing federal laws where they're appropriate. So, for example, where there are parks here in Washington, D.C., in fact, right behind me about a few blocks this way was where that Lincoln statue was in Lincoln Park, and that was being targeted. And that's federal property. And our view was, look, you got to bring federal resources to protect this stuff. It's federal property. We can't have our nation's capital doing that. The second thing you can do is make it to where private citizens can sue in federal court when state and local governments don't do their job to enforce the law, to protect the community. It's the first function of government under our Constitution, secure the blessings of liberty. And so we introduced legislation. I introduced one in the House, and I think Senator Cruz might have the companion in the Senate, where it allows for that litigation to go forward, to be able to go into federal court and say, you guys aren't protecting our rights. I think that's important. The third thing is what my friend Russ Vought, who's the director of the Office of Management and Budget, just did on behalf of the president a couple days ago, issuing an order saying that they're not going to allow dollars to go to state and local governments that don't enforce the law. And I think we get more of that. That's a good thing. I hope they'll hang that over the head of Austin, with all due respect to the city that I represent part of. And I've been hammering Austin loudly, and I'm going to continue to hammer Austin loudly for cutting the police budget by a third. It's disgraceful. And it's endangering our capital city on behalf of all Texans and the people who live there. It's completely unacceptable.
Can't agree more. Do we have any more questions for Congressman Roy?
I'm at your disposal.
We don't get this often, so speak up.
I have a quick one about the energy sector. Is there anything coming down the pipe, or what's the outlook for West Texas and fracking and all that kind of stuff?
So coming down the pipe, you mean that no. Yeah. So there's a lot that's on the table. One of our primary concerns as a political matter is the rhetoric from particularly both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but in general, my opponent, for example, that I have been pretty outspoken about wanting to go down the road of Green New Deal, and in the case of Kamala Harris saying ban fracking, as well as Joe Biden raising questions about fracking. Clearly, that is so critical, not just to the Texas economy, but also to the American economy and jobs, as well as, by the way, driving CO2 levels down, right? It's American clean burning natural gas that has been driving CO2 production down in the United States. So if you're one who cares about that issue, then you should want more clean burning natural gas and that fracking helps provide. So we're going to be standing up strong for that. I know, like I said, there's legislation today that is being advanced by the Democrats that would advance a Green New Deal type agenda, as well as a renewable fuel standard, which is tilted towards the Midwest as opposed to supportive of a lot of our Texas refineries. I've been defending our Texas refiners and will continue to do so. But we're going to oppose this legislation today. In fact, when I leave here in about probably 20 minutes, I'm going to walk over to the Capitol and vote no on the rule to go to the bill that they want to move to. Now, they'll end up passing it out of the House, but it won't go anywhere in the Senate. But that's why this election is so important. I'm trying not to make this inherently political. I'm here to talk about what I'm doing as your congressman. But I'm just going to tell you, November is really important, given all of these things that are at stake. The tax policy, the regulatory policy, the energy policy we're talking about right now, the chance of fracking being banned. And look, let me tell you, if we had a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic White House, those things would all be on the chopping block. DC might be a state. The court might be packed. We would likely unroll a lot of the tax policies that helped spur the economic growth a couple of years ago. We would see a significant number of obviously liberal judges appointed beyond just packing the Supreme Court. And we would see an enormous amount of changes on government involvement in running our healthcare and expansion of Medicare, frankly, at the expense of existing Medicare. These are all things that are right out in front of us that we know is true. For example, wide open borders, abolishing ICE, attacking our Border Patrol folks, limiting what the president's been doing and building fencing along our border. There's a litany of things, not to mention the issue of life and other issues that are so critically important, where I have major disagreements with my opponent.
Congressman Roy, if I could ask a question. So we had a speaker from Kinder Morgan come several months ago to our club, and then we had a speaker from the group that was trying to get the pipeline moved. And now we know that Kinder Morgan wasn't able to protect the environment to the extent that they said they could, because there's been a couple of blowouts in Blanco, and several families' wells are now impacted and probably going to be worthless for decades. In your opinion, is there some level of recourse for those families when it comes to what Kinder Morgan should do, or is this something that could be a bigger issue relative to the energy and oil and gas industry, just based on kind of your sense of how all that intertwines?
Well, I certainly appreciate the question. I didn't catch your name when you called.
Oh, Marta.
Okay. Hey, Mark. And I couldn't find the video, so you might be on audio. I'm sorry. I was just trying to see you. But I appreciate that question a lot, right? I get this a bunch throughout the whole country, rightly so. While it is predominantly a state and local question and issue, therefore not something that directly impacts me. And because the pipeline was kind of well in its process by the time I was taking office, I've been kind of in catch-up mode, kind of working with it since I've been in Congress. As I've seen this unfold and I've listened to all the stakeholders, I've had numerous conversations with Kinder Morgan, usually in the position of me kind of beating them up that they're not doing what they need to do to both, include the stakeholders in decision making, make good decisions about that, keep us posted on the environmental implications. You noted the Blanco River issue. I went and met with each of or I think most of, I think all but maybe one of the landowners affected by the first boring that they were doing under the Blanco there, kind of right off of 165 between Henley and Blanco, if you know that area. And there was an impact on wells, as you noted. And I went down and met with them, and I encouraged them to beat the snot out of Kinder Morgan and make sure that they're made whole. And made whole means a lot, right? It means having a clean well. It means having clean water. It means all the costs of doing that. It means, all of the things to be made fully whole. I also pushed on Kinder Morgan to stop drilling under the Blanco there. They didn't show that was a place that they could do it. And I'm happy to report, and I believe, Nathan might be able to jump in here to make sure that it's happening, but I believe they're rerouting around the Blanco. That was the last information I had as of a week ago, and that they'll be moving it around the Blanco, which is much preferred. I think there's much we need to do to improve that process. Again, not a federal issue per se, but I sent a letter to Senator Birdwell, and I've been in conversations with Don Buckingham, conversations with Senator Kolkhorst in the Texas legislature about my belief and desire that we have a legislative effort next session to improve property rights protections for stakeholders in the Hill Country, well, all of Texas by definition, for anybody who's impacted by pipelines. Now, look, we're Texans. We love oil and gas. We love what it does for jobs. We all want to have abundant energy available. We're for pipelines being done properly. A lot of landowners in the Hill Country made pretty good money by getting paid by Kinder Morgan, and that's good, right? I mean, I've got a lot of constituents who are like, look, I was able to pay for college. I was able to do X, Y, Z. I'm not bothered by it at all. I've got some that are really upset about it. And I've been trying to be a voice for them, and particularly our water supply. And I've been hammering Kinder Morgan on that issue. And I feel like we've moved some things in the right direction, and we need do some work in the legislative session next spring.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have time for one more question for the congressman, and then we probably need to let him get going. Any more questions?
I'd like to ask a question, if that's all right.
Yes, please.
Hey, Congressman Roy, thanks for coming back again this year. This is
Yeah.
Chris Chedzoy.
Hey, Chris.
I'd like to echo what Jeff said about the PPP and how critical that is. Certainty in business is really what your business is built around. And I think, some companies, ourselves included, are scared to even spend those funds without knowing the process for repayment. So that's good to hear that you're working on that. But getting to my hobby business, Basement Brewers of Texas, and the 51% rule, it's encouraging to hear, even though it's not necessarily your area of responsibility, that you're working with the state officials. I think there's just a massive amount of jobs that are being impacted, and we're basically scraping by. But I heard a number yesterday that 30 to 40% of entertainment industry, and I call bars and restaurants, et cetera, are going to go out of business permanently as a result of this. So the question I guess I have is what can we as voters do besides vote? You said you don't want to make this political, but there's so much going on in the country right now, and it's just discouraging to see the massive upheaval going on and realize that we've got an election coming up, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, or it's going to be worse after the election, depending on how that turns out. So do you have any recommendation to us as the voters on things that we can do to get involved? I mean, they always tell us to call and write our congressman. I feel like y'all have enough to do without getting 8,000 emails a week from people that have an axe to grind. But I would just be interested to hear your feedback on, what you think the country needs to kind of get back to a normal operating standpoint and, get out of this DC Sodom on the Potomac politics cycle that we're in right now. So thank you for your service.
Well, no, my pleasure. It's my pleasure and my honor. And no, I'm here for that, right? So we want to hear from constituents. It's the only way I can know and get real-time feedback whether we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I feel like I've done what I said I would do. I think when I visited with y'all a couple of years ago when we were running, I was pretty clear what I would come do, and I've done that. And look, I'm going to take some arrows in my campaign for doing it, right? When you take tough votes. I'll give you a good quick example. I voted against a bill. I was one of three. There's three of us. I voted against a bill because that bill had a provision in it that I believed, through my reading of the bill, would raise taxes on the middle class when you're trying to pass stuff down to your kids and grandkids. Lo and behold, a couple weeks later, the Wall Street Journal editorialized about it and said exactly that. This is going to raise taxes on middle class folks. The bill got jammed through quickly and hurriedly. And with all due respect to my Republican leadership, they were whipping that we should support it. I voted no. I'm proud of that vote. But here's the problem. It was attached to a few other provisions, one of which was Gold Star families. I'm co-sponsoring a bill for Gold Star families. I support Gold Star families. My opponent is running ads saying that I oppose Gold Star families because I picked out that bill, which I'm proud of voting no on because we discovered what was wrong with it. Senator Cruz is holding it. It hasn't advanced any further than the House. But that's a perfect example of the swamp politics that you guys sent me to DC to try to peel back the onion and fight and figure out how to get this right. Fight for you. And so that's what I think we need to make DC less consequential in your life and all the lives of Americans. We don't need to be waiting with bated breath every June. What's the Supreme Court decision going to say? What am I going to be allowed to do? We shouldn't be on bated breath because Justice Ginsburg, rest her soul, passed away. And now we're talking about a confirmation. Why does one judicial confirmation result in mass bedlam and angst and anxiety among people across the political spectrum? That's absurd. That's not what the founders gave us. That's not what your grandparents and parents and you all and any of you who are veterans, that's not what you fought for. You fought for us to be able to live our lives, Texans, take care of our kids, their grandkids. So that's what I'm trying to do every day here in DC. I hear you on the PPP. I'm fighting hard on it. I hear you on the alcohol issues. Look, there are so many. I just had a call an hour ago with a Save Our Stages effort in Austin. They're dying. I mean, these are great old places, the Broken Spoke, old places all throughout Austin, live music venues that are just hanging on by a thread, bar owners, breweries, distilleries, everybody, the hospitality industry general. And so we've got to do our part both to free them up at the state level to do their job and do it safely and get people open and stop being so scared of the virus instead of just managing it. My dad's a polio survivor, 1949. He dealt with a pandemic. And we all want to protect our loved ones. You guys want to protect your loved ones, yourselves. And my dad is 77, my mom's 71. I didn't see them from Christmas to July 4th. They didn't see my kids, their grandkids. But now we've decided, look, we just want to get busy living. We'll do it carefully. And we just need to open our economy up and get going. I've been telling the governor that. And look, the governor's done a lot of good things. For example, mail-in ballots. We're not one of those states that's now throwing ballots to the wind, which would increase the likelihood of fraud. We've expanded early voting. We're making it easier for people to vote in person. You can still get an absentee ballot. That's the Texas way, the right way. Let's protect our elections. So I'm happy to do whatever. You guys have ideas and thoughts. My office is always open. Nathan's on this call right now. It is never bugging us to make phone calls, to send letters. Reach out directly. Many of you have my cell phone. You have Nathan's cell. Just reach out. I mean, I can't know what all 800,000 people I'm currently representing need and want if I don't hear from you. So I'm appreciative.
Congressman, we thank you so much for your service. We know that you really feel strongly about what you're doing, and that's admirable. So we thank you very much for that.
Well, Tammy, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to join y'all. I wish it were in person, but I'm here and we're doing this by Zoom right now. But I look forward to doing it again sometime soon. And again, please reach out to my office anytime. And if you've got ideas or thoughts or what we need to be doing, we're all ears. And I'm very blessed and humbled to represent y'all.
Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.
You too. Okay, guys, that was awesome. I think that was informative. Whether you vote one way or another, you have to feel like you've been informed by your representative today from Congressman Roy. That was just awesome. Okay, we have some club business, and then we're going to have a breakout session. First of all, I'd like to share with you some things that we've been doing. I'm hoping that you're seeing pictures of Dave Rittenhouse and Robin Myers. Is that what you're seeing? Okay, we have been trying to conduct business as usual, but since we're not in person, we can't do certain things. So our prize patrol, which consists of Donna Peterson, has been out trying to present Paul Harris Fellow Awards. So we would like to congratulate and recognize Dave Rittenhouse for his Paul Harris +7. We would like to recognize and appreciate Robin Myers for her Paul Harris +6. And we would like to recognize and appreciate Rhonda Richter for her Paul Harris +3. And we would like to recognize and appreciate Stephanie Miller for her Paul Harris +2. And we would also like to appreciate Donna for being our prize patrol. But we have several more to give. You may or may not have gotten a call from Donna, but if you have gotten a call from her, we're just trying to get them out. We're going to take pictures and share them with our club so they know the people that are getting the Paul Harris. And you know how important supporting our foundation is. Part of that is through our polio fight, which we have just eradicated from the continent of Africa because of all of our worldwide efforts. So we need to keep giving to the foundation. And that brings me to our World Polio Day. I don't have any announcements for you. I have some big exciting thoughts and news, but we don't have it all clarified yet. So I will send an email out, but we've had some people step up saying they're willing to help us, and thank you so much. I'm not going to out them just now, but we will be getting back to you. We are going to recognize World Polio Day. We think it's very important that we don't let this day go by and not draw attention to it. Our club has been the top fundraiser in our district. We want to continue to be that. And last year we raised $10,000, and this year we want to raise $10,000 more to send to the foundation to continue our fight against polio worldwide. So I will get back to you more on that, but I wanted to thank the people that responded in my request for volunteers to help with that project. I need to remind everyone that invoices are getting ready to go out on October 1st. If you have a balance, and there's very, very few, and I'm sure that's just because of some technical issue with mailing or whatever, or emails, but please, if you don't have a paid invoice for the July quarter, could you check that? If you don't, then we're looking for you to pay that. Again, it's very few, and I'm sure it's just technical glitches, but help us get that cleared up, because we don't want you to then get bounced on a second invoice in October. Those are going to go out. Christy, I think that we are in perfect timing for our breakout sessions. We're going to go into breakout sessions so that we can have that individual interactive time that we've been trying to give you, even though we're not doing in-person meetings. And I'll talk to you more about that later. The question that we would like you to ponder while you're in your group is, what is your greatest passion or service project within Rotary? Why is that particular project important to you? So Christy, if you would like to send us away, and we'll come back.
All right, we're going to take you on a magic carpet ride. Here, wait 1 second. I have people log off. We need people to stay on to do this. All right, here we go.
Oh.
Hey, Mary, are you there by yourself? Mary? Scott, can you hear me? Hi, this is Christy. How are you? I see you. I can't hear you though. Well, I should hear you now. It says you're not muted anymore. Nope, you're still muted. Somehow. I feel the same way many times, just so you know. I'm learning this as I go. Absolutely. It's good to see your smiling face, though. We're going to have to learn sign language next. It says you're not muted, so I don't know what's going on. You obviously can hear me, which is good. But I don't know why. I don't know why. It's really weird because I can see you just fine.
Did that
Wait.
work? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
There you are. See, I send everyone to breakout rooms, and then I'm kind of just stuck here waiting for everyone to come back because they magically come back after when the
Well, see,
time is up.
I was in a breakout room, and then my system just cratered and it all disappeared.
You left. So what's your favorite service project or passion?
I love the police awards, you know, the first responders one.
Okay.
So
yeah,
because they're working hard. So, and then I love our programs. I love bringing. Well, probably my passion is bringing my kids to the armed services one where they do the World War II vets or you know I always try to bring kids to those because you know like Andrew.
Veterans breakfast, yeah.
Yep. Or not that we I don't know if we've done but the veterans program where they actually introduce the lives of those people.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's on Veterans Day, the one that Tom Terrell does?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because my kids just love that. So they feel I mean, and I love it, but one year Jessie B, no, she's older now, but she was like, that guy was in my book.
Oh,
and so there was a picture of one of those guys that actually taught, and that's been fun. And then
Roy Boudreau has an amazing story to tell of his service, and I would hope that Tom will get him somehow to tell that one day because he has an amazing story, and he's in books. He's in books with his group. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. Awesome. Well, it looks like they're all going to be coming back here. Like they're all closing in 56 seconds, it says.
Wow.
So some of them are coming back already. Yay. Hey. You're muted, Jeff. Oh, there you are.
Ashley has our new Rotarian with her.
Oh, look at that picture. Oh my goodness.
We're sitting outside to keep him entertained. He's a wiggle worm. He likes to play with my flowers. He likes to pull on all my plants. Oh, he's talking to us.
It's the outfit. Stand that child up.
She has him dressed like Chip Roy. He's bald.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Tammy, we had 8 breakout rooms. Now, one of them closed early. I don't know if you want to get a quick overview from the breakout rooms. Just, call out for it, see what people said. It's up to you. Well, we only have 3 minutes left, so that may not work.
Yeah, I think that I forgot I should have given out wine beforehand. There's one thing I'm thinking. So I feel I have to get rid of these before we get more. I see that, Jeff. I have a rosé and I have a Moscato, which apparently is not very popular. But that's what I have.
The
So-
Moscatos are so sweet. They're very, very sweet.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I love sweet wine. So, call my name.
I
Call
bought
my
it because the bottle is pretty. That's why I bought it. Okay, so the first person that I drew was Betty Vernon. I don't know if Betty is still with us. She is. Betty, are you wearing your pin or have your challenge coin with you?
No.
Oh no.
I
I'm
know
so
where my
sorry.
challenge coin is, though. It's on my dresser at home.
That is no camera honesty.
I am so sorry.
I've got
I
my
can't get my video to work, so y'all have to look at my name.
Aw. Well, thank you, and I'm sorry that you didn't have that. Next time I'll send you an email because I think I've picked you twice now. Bob Fairchild, are you still with us? I think he's gone. Okay. John Seibert, do you have a pin on or a challenge coin?
He's not answering. He is muted though.
He is muted. Nope, I don't think I don't know. So the next one I had was Bob Schmierbeck. Bob?
Oh, he's got his pin on his collar.
Okay, well, if we can, okay, he's open.
Tell us,
Would you
Bob,
like
what you want.
the rosé or the Moscato?
Moscato would be great.
Oh, yay! Well, thank you so much. We will drop that off. Do you want us to drop it off at the insurance office?
That'd be fine. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, well, we're right at 1 o'clock. So let's close out this meeting. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it very much. Now, if you will join me in the 4-way test. Of the things that we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much, guys. Y'all have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.